The Docklands are filled with the ghosts of ships of the past, but this one is an outsider. This is the Royal Iris. Not a Londoner, she's actually from Liverpool, and she has a heck of a story to tell. Built on the Clyde, she was constructed as a Mersey ferry. She went into service in 1951 and served until 1971 when she was refitted and began a new life as a cruise vessel. She was finally withdrawn due to her age and the difficulty of maintenance in 1991. Those are the basics. She had an eventful life. In her first year of operation, she collided with the battleship Duke of York, which injured several of her passengers. None the worse for her adventures, in the 60s she gained an important place in popular culture. The Royal Iris was no mere workaday ferryboat. She was outfitted with a cocktail bar, a tea room, a buffet and a fish restaurant that gained her the nickname the Fish and Chip Boat. She was also nicknamed the Booze Boat and the Love Boat. I don't know if there was a dating agency on board or what. Maybe the love happened after the booze had been flowing for a bit. Significantly, though, she had a ballroom and a stage, and floating concerts were held. The Riverboat Shuffles, organised by Ray McFall of the Cavern Club. One of the biggest acts, though they started out as support, was a pre-Ringo version of the Beatles. Jerry and the Pacemakers were also headliners, which raises the interesting question of whether the Royal Iris was the original ferry across the Mersey. In 1977, she deputised for the Royal Yacht, carrying the Queen and Prince Philip on their Silver Jubilee tour of Merseyside. 3 years later, she was a filming location for a children's Saturday morning series called The Mersey Pirate. In 1985, she became a roving ambassador and went on a grand tour which took her all the way to London to promote Merseyside. By 1991, this vessel, now a Liverpool institution, was starting to show her age. Upon reviewing the vessels they owned, Mersey Travel decided it wasn't worth bringing her up to scratch. They weren't short of ships, after all. But she was to be spared the breaker's yard, and was bought by a consortium who intended to turn her into a floating nightclub in Liverpool. And that didn't quite work out. Then another consortium bought her with the intention of turning her into a floating nightclub in Cardiff. And that didn't work out either. In 1996, yet another consortium wanted to bring her back from Cardiff and restore her to service, and that once again didn't work out. In 2002, she was the subject of one more scheme, again to turn her into a nightclub, this time in London, so she made her way to Woolwich, and it didn't happen. So there she stayed. Despite petitions from Liverpudlians and whiffs of interest from potential buyers, no one seems to have any interest in the old ferry aside from squatters. In 2010, it was reported that she'd been holed below the waterline. As the years have gone by, she's been in an increasingly derelict state, with water filling her at high tide, and her weight resting uncomfortably on the mudbank at low tide. So what does the future hold for the old girl? Well, it doesn't look good. The powers that be at Mersey Travel have disavowed any interest in taking her back, and to be fair to them, the cost of bringing her up to spec would likely be in the millions. Even moving her back up to Liverpool is likely to cost in the hundreds of thousands. Given that schemes to fix her up couldn't be brought to term even when she was seaworthy, I'm afraid I don't have much hope for the private sector stepping in either. Frankly, I fear that it's here on this mudbank in East London that the story of the Fish and Chip Boat reaches its end.